We're live.
Yes, we are.
I'm gonna check since we're new to this. So let me check my other YouTube. Maybe. Let's see. Okay. Oh, I'm watching.
Okay, so we are.
Oh, okay. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna go back to the Twitter files. So I bookmarked. I didn't want to go through all of them because there's been 6 dumps. And actually, the one Taibbi did is, or not Taibbi, Barry Weiss.
So real quick, you want to introduce everybody to?
Oh, that helps. Okay, so just if
I know it's our first live event, and I can tell you're a bit nervous. I know you've thrown up now twice, so
wait, let me get rid of my gum. It's stuck to my tooth.
Right on camera too, aren't you?
Hey, I took a shower today. I put some makeup on.
Right.
So it's a good day. Oh, I could take this out too because I'm not having to use the Bluetooth.
So
okay, so everybody, if subscribing to my channel, people know who I am. Of course, I'm Stacey Karma, and this is my oldest brother, Bryan Karma.
I don't know about that, but okay.
Well, we'll just roll with it. I mean, we're not going to give last names. Actually, for some of you guys that don't know my brother, this is the one that we share the same birthday, and our kids share the same birthday, which
that's right.
It's pretty cool.
Even
though last time we talked about this, he thought my kid was born before his, and it was complete opposite. His age is showing. I can't. In any case, Bryan lives in a blue state.
Yes.
I live in a red state. And I don't know about him, but I miss Texas.
I miss Texas sometimes.
I miss the food.
I would say that the food where I'm at is very good, but
it is.
I do miss the hospitality. And the
that's what I miss too. When we moved up here, when Mom and Dad moved us up here, or me, you didn't have to move. You were already older and out of the house. It was culture shock for me to come to where I was and go from a 2-hallway school to a 6 gargantuan hallways.
Right.
Go from how many? I think Steve had 57 in his graduating class.
Yeah, something like that. I had 87 in my graduating class. So
I don't know how many I had. I didn't like any of them anyway. Not really. I liked Hillary. Who doesn't like Hillary?
Right.
So, but thank you for joining me on my first live stream. Yes, I'm a little nervous because I don't know if I'm the only one watching. Maybe Mom and Dad are watching.
Usually your family are the first ones to watch you, and they're going to say how great everything was, but we're going to know it's going to suck a little.
It's going to suck a little, yeah. But it'll get better as we go.
Right.
So we'll get into it. I don't even know how to start. Oh, wait, let's do the emoji. I have an emoji 8-ball.
Okay.
Oh, is this going to be a good stream? We're going to see what it says.
You might want to put your glasses on.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
And because I love my Iron Man, I don't have a big picture of Elon to put with it.
Right. Well, it is the holiday season, and for Elon, it is Troll to the World.
It's true. I am liking some of his things, but I do have my Iron Man glasses.
Tony Stark, yeah.
Yeah, because he's my man, him and Elon. Because Elon, in my opinion, is today's modern day. Oh, you're right. Look, mom and dad just posted. Dad and I are here. Hi, mom and dad. Okay, let me get to the bookmarks here. Because this one, what I just read about when they took Trump off, when they took him down January, I think it was the 8th. Maybe it was the 7th, but hang on. That's when a lot of us got taken down. And since I have one Twitter account that they don't know is me, we don't want them to know it's me since I've already been banned. Elon has not lifted my ban. So this is something that jumped out at me that Barry Weiss put out 5 days ago.
Okay.
So they were going back and forth, and Trump was talking about, giving the speech and that everybody leave peacefully. And the Twitter trolls on the inside, I call them the communists, were going back and forth and wanted to basically ban Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And so things started to escalate, she says. Members of the team came to view him as the leader of a terrorist group responsible for violence and deaths comparable to the Christchurch shooter or Hitler. On that basis and on the totality of his tweets, he should be deplatformed.
Right.
He didn't say anything wrong.
No, it wasn't about that he said anything wrong. It was that he went against whatever narrative they were holding. And because of all of the anti-Trump views that were out there, what was very interesting at the time was Trump was like everybody's friend. And then he ran for office and he started to become less of everybody's friend. And then he was kind of like the town jester that was never going to win. And then he became a viable candidate. And then he won. And then it was, what can we do to destroy him? And that was even within his own party.
They were.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this.
Okay.
Were you a Trump supporter before? When did you start?
Here's what I'll tell you. I was not a Hillary supporter.
Yeah, that was a given.
So you could have put anybody out to run against Hillary, and I would have voted for them. I would have voted for a cheese sandwich.
Yeah, I would have too. It's cheese sandwich. I always say ham sandwich, like you can indict a ham sandwich at this point. But yeah.
But it wasn't that Trump was a better candidate. He just wasn't a Clinton. And unfortunately, or fortunately, his own party went against him. But technically, he wasn't a Republican either.
Yeah, he wasn't.
So I mean, he could have run under the old was it Teddy Roosevelt's Bull Moose Party, and probably would have won. But and that's the issue right now with Trump rerunning, because he fell to the same stigma that Hillary fell to, which was anybody but her, and then it turned into anybody but Trump, and we got what we got, and now we have what we have today, which is a lot of pain. And
I didn't support him either. I voted for him because, again, I would have voted for a ham sandwich as long as I didn't have to vote for Clinton.
right.
But it wasn't until he was in the Rose Garden and he called out some reporter. I mean, just called it out bluntly. And I'll never forget it. I was walking to the kitchen and I stopped. And this is when I had the TV on, which was rare to begin with. And I turned around and went, "That's my president." That's something I would have said.
And yeah, and that's what's endeared him to a lot of people, was that he said the things that people were afraid to say, because you'd be either labeled a racist, you'd be labeled, some sort of ist or ism or whatever. But he said it in a way that almost like a backhanded compliment most of the time. He'll compliment you at the same time he's insulting you, which is fine. It took a while for me to get used to who he was.
Yeah.
And getting used to the verboseness of everything was bigger than it really needed to be. But, what I found out about him was he's a CEO.
Right.
So CEOs, their companies are the best companies. Even if they're failing, they're still the best companies. And he treated the White House and everything like it was a company, and that he was always trying to promote it. And it took a while for me to get used to that, because you're used to politicians, telling you things that you want to hear or not want to hear or whatever. I mean, I likened it to the difference between the president and a CEO of an organization is that the CEO can be fired for not making the organization successful. Politicians don't have to do that. They can tell you they never have to follow through on anything. If they did, you would see more progress in a lot of things, because if they held politicians to the standards that they run on and said, okay, you've had 10 years, nothing has changed.
Sorry, I had the fat cat.
Nothing has changed in 10 years. You should be out. And I don't care what party you're in. If you're a Democrat and you've been in the same place for 10 years and nothing has changed, like look at Baltimore. How many billions of dollars over the last 50 years have been poured into that area? Not 50 years, 20 years. How many millions of dollars, maybe even $1 billion, have been poured into those areas? Same politicians, same outcomes. You could give everybody in that city $100,000.
It does not.
Yeah. So if it's a Dem and it's been 10 years and you haven't changed anything, you're out. If you're a Republican, same thing.
Yeah, because we have some rhinos. I mean, it's one of those. So when I started digging, I mean, I'd already been paying attention, thanks to Trey Gowdy, because I loved those hearings on the Hill with him, because he was just calling it the way it was. And I like that, because we all know that's who I am.
I appreciate a lot of those things that happen out there, but nothing changed.
Nothing changed. And it's one of those. So I started digging anyway, and started digging more. And then I still wasn't like a Trump supporter, but I was starting to dig with General Flynn and what they'd done to Flynn. And then I thought, you know what? I don't get a good feeling on Paul Manafort. And Paul Manafort was pushed into the Trump campaign. Trump didn't want him. He was pushed into it, and eventually Trump's like, get out. But I started digging, and that's when I started going into all the Ukraine stuff. Right. And then the more I started paying attention to what was going on with Twitter, because I wasn't on Twitter. Mm-hmm. I started paying attention, and more stuff came out. And then I watched the video that Trump did. This video will get Trump elected, and it was pinned to my old Twitter account. It's my favorite video. And then I watched the video with Michael Moore, where us voting Trump into the office we were throwing a Molotov cocktail. We were done.
No, he's the bull in the china closet that you want, because a lot of things needed to be spotlighted or broken or shown to be broken to get people to start thinking about those things. The unfortunate part to all of that is that nothing came about of it. Everything that Trump pointed out is still the same today.
Yeah.
Worse today. So, if somebody's going to go in office and say, well, I follow a lot of the Trump doctrine. I'm not going to call it the Make America Great Again doctrine, because that almost is got a stigma to it, to where if you throw that out there, people just get turned off now.
Which
Because
annoys me because it's not a Trump original. That wasn't from Trump.
I know, but what's happened is that the media outlets have driven their points so well
Yeah.
that now, I mean, almost if you have an American flag in front of your house, you're a Republican, or you're a Trumper at that point, just because you have an American flag. I remember back in the 80s where the Republican Party and the Democratic Party were this close to each other. In the only difference between the Republicans and Democrats were liberals. And being
Yeah.
liberal back then was a bad thing. Well, it wasn't a bad thing, but it was a bad thing. It meant you believed in the welfare state and you believed in giving people stuff that they didn't earn and all of that. And the conservatives were, you're going to earn your way. You're gonna do things the way, law and order, that type of thing. And then in the last 20 years, we've done this, and we keep getting.
But have we?
Apart.
We've got some breakout Republicans that are now over here because we still have the Mitch McConnells.
That guy needs to go. He's been in office too long.
Then we got Kevin McCarthy, which I have a personal problem with him.
Half of these guys are you know, I stopped following the news about 2019 as soon. Okay, so let's wind the clock back a little bit. And I know a lot of people who watch YouTube and everything are like, "Oh, that's old news." Well, technically, you got to remember the old news so that you understand where you're at in the current news.
Right.
So in 2019, around December 26th, right after Christmas, we were listening to a gentleman called Medicare. He's been banned so many times, but he was talking about an issue happening in China where people were getting sick and they were like falling or dead in the streets, which they weren't technically falling dead in the streets, but people were dying over there.
Mm-hmm.
And this was in December in the end of December. Our news here wasn't even talking about what was happening over there. It wasn't until February, before the Chinese New Year, started to say, "Oh yeah, go out and hug an Asian and all of this."
Oh yeah, Pelosi go to Chinatown.
Racist sounding, and there were all the warning signs. We knew what was coming. We were already planning, and I'm not one of those pepper types. But when you start hearing things, it's not long before things make its way here. And then by the end of February,
beginning of March,
there was the first case in Seattle, right? And then there was the guy who went.
It was the first known case.
Right, first known case. I tend to think it was here sooner, but that's whatever. And what happened after that was all of a sudden now everybody starts going into panic mode, and the media was trying to spin it that Trump was a racist and everything for trying to keep people from traveling abroad. And then all of a sudden, now we got to do a lockdown. We locked down in mid-March.
I can't remember when. I feel like we've been on lockdown forever, but I wasn't.
I still work from home, and it's been almost 3 years.
I didn't play. Even though I stayed home, it was a great way not to push me out of the house. But I still wasn't playing the game.
No, I wasn't either. Well, see, I have access to things in the healthcare industry where I could see trends.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was comorbidities. Are you obese? Do you have diabetes? Do you have a heart condition? Do you have a compromised immune system of any kind? You're going to have problems. That's almost like the common flu today. If you have those things, getting sick is not good for you to begin with.
Well, I remember telling people it's just the flu. That's all it is. It's the flu. And it's like the flu.
It's like flu, except for imagine the flu on steroids. So whatever you have that's wrong with you, elevate that times 10 or even times 100, which means it's rough. But if you're in some relatively good health and you haven't run your immune system down and you get it, you'll get past it. And then as these variants have happened, you'll eventually get past those too.
But you were the one that explained to me, because we know my husband had the stroke
right
with the second round, and I'm like, my back is killing me. I feel like I'm in labor again. And you're the one that sets in the weakest part of your body. And I pulled all those muscles in my back trying to pick him up off the ER floor. Mm-hmm. It literally felt like labor. It was the worst. So, people, they don't even talk about that attacks the weakest part of your body.
Mm-hmm. Or whatever the compromised area of your body is. But the thing is that later on, as I'm seeing the statistics happen, it's happening to a specific population, and nobody said anything. But now, if you watch commercials, this is why I'm leading back to what's happening today. You look at the commercials now that are out there that says, if you have this, if you have this, if you have this, if you have this, all the things that we knew about. So if you're going, well, I don't want, you guys have a lot of topics from the past. It's like, yeah, but if you think about what they were saying back then and what they're saying today, you got snowed.
Yeah, they did.
Right?
They did.
And now they're trying, and this is a topic we can talk about later on when I have a little more information on it, is these amnesty things that they're trying to pass. They're already doing it in Europe, and it's an amnesty law. They're trying to do an amnesty ruling or something that says you can't go and prosecute the people that made you lock down or made you get the shot or told you that you were a dirty goat because you didn't want to get the shot.
You called that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
I remember you called that.
Mm-hmm. No, I try to limit my I'm kind of consider myself a little bit of a futurist, as in you can see things happening and then eventually you can progress it out and say, this is what the outcome of that's going to be.
Well, the problem we run into is because they lied so much is, what do you believe anymore? You got to believe what's happening in your daily life.
Right. And the media now has destroyed everything that they built. It's now compromised. It's not dead. And when people say, oh, the old legacy media is dead, it's not. If you can watch there's a YouTube channel out there that will show you 50 spots from 50 different cities, and they say the exact same thing. They'll say
they do not.
Right. But see, and
no original thoughts. No original thoughts.
Well, it's not about the thought, it's about the message. And the message is simple, and they all get that message out there. So when they say, oh, the legacy media is dead because, oh, they only get 100,000 watchers. Yeah, they get 100,000 watchers on 500 channels. Well, multiply 5 times.
But you know what I found is, and I explained this because I don't watch the news, and it was a few years back before all this hit that I was sitting in my bathroom getting ready for work, and there was a fire, and the reporter said to the lady, what did the fireman say when he knocked on your door? What do you think he said? Can I get a cup of coffee? And at that point, something flipped, and I started paying attention. Why are they dumbing it down?
They have to.
Oh, how did that 300th home run feel? Like shit.
Well,
they dumb stuff down. And people have to think about that. And, whoever watches this, hopefully they'll if they watch the news and they realize how much they dumb stuff down, just minor stuff, they dumb it down and realize you're being spoken to like you're an idiot.
Well, and that's the thing. Where I live, we have a graduation rate of about 76%. Graduation rate, 76%. I know. And
You think
so
your state's going to do what California's doing? There's some cities paying people that are not white they're paying them while they're pregnant.
I don't. Again, I haven't been watching a lot of the news here, but we're already a sanctuary state. And I was talking to a friend of mine, and while we were at a holiday event the other day, and I told him we're the third state in all the things. We're the third best in all the things that are bad, and we're the third worst in everything that is good. So we rank poorly. And this gets back to the comment about if you've been in office for as long as you've been in office and nothing has changed, it's time for you to go. And unfortunately, we're a handout state, not a hand up state. And a lot of
I believe in term limits, but I don't want to push that until my favorite congressman's dead. Because I really like Chuck Grassley. He's my favorite. The jig is up.
I don't.
They sold you snake oil. The jig's up. Mic drop moment.
Well, the thing is that
term limit, and I don't like these PACs.
What do you mean the PACs?
These people that form these political PACs, and they take all their money and they put it behind these rhino candidates.
Lobbyists are the worst. I get a lot of phone calls that say we represent the police union, police officers union, or whatever, and so I'm like, okay, so what does that mean for my state or my city's police force? And they're like, well, it's a lobby group that works with the federal government. And I'm like, so you really don't really do anything, but
you're nicer than me. I'm like, no.
Oh no.
Yeah, click.
I've asked, and then whenever they can't answer, I ask to be taken off their phone list, and that's fine. Which I'm not, because I answer the phone. So technically, when you answer the phone, you stay on the list.
Well, it's one of those that, and I've been thinking about this and thinking because it's so bad, and everybody feels like there's nothing we can do, but there's things that we can do. And I'm sick of people saying, you just need to vote. No, I'm not an election denier. The election happened.
Right.
I just think they cheated.
Well, here's what you can put some basic logic to things. Most candidates have to run, have to present arguments, have to debate, which I think debating is immoral, but we can get into that topic later.
You think debating's immoral?
Yeah.
Oh, I debate all the time.
Yeah, but what do you do after you win?
Feel really good because I made somebody feel like an idiot.
Right. But all your arguments to say this is what should happen, this is what should happen, this is what should happen. Nothing. You won the argument, but you never had to take it past the argument.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, when they do political debates, it's like, but are you going to really do that? Can you really do that? See, and nobody asked that question. Can that really be done? And most of the time, the answer is no.
Right.
It 3/4 of the Congress and the
right. Well, and it's just like, oh, they're going to have all these hearings about Hunter Biden.
No, they're not.
No, please don't. I want you to wait, because there's all those hearings on the Hill are just a circus show.
Right. So this gets back to the election.
Right.
Which is, if you can stay in your basement for 4 months out of the election cycle, which is, and I call it the election cycle, to me is March to November. So if you can stay out of the election cycle for 4 months and still win, and talk to what, 3 or 4 people,
yeah,
and never answer questions, and then in the debate, not really answer any questions, just maintain some level of just holding yourself up, then it's
And the stuff he was called out on, we know based on the Twitter drops that things were suppressed. People were kicked off because they were talking about it. I mean,
and when they say, well, Twitter influenced the
but
election,
but
I doubt that. I
it
doubt
wasn't just Twitter though. You got Facebook too.
you got Facebook, you got Instagram, you got all of those, right? So this is when they say, well, Twitter did this. It's like, if Elon Musk is showing you now how many bots were really out there,
Yeah.
then
But it's the manipulation even now. So
here's what it is. Here's what it is. The reason why they say Twitter influenced it is because a lot of news people get a lot of their story leads. In my opinion, they get a lot of the information to get started from Twitter. Oh, this is trending. We should talk about this tonight.
and it's always now. It's not. I have to be the first to post. I don't have to be accurate. I just need to be the first.
Right, and nobody gets called out on that either.
And Trump was doing that. Fake news. He was doing that.
And that was a big deal. But if it's not trending in any sort of social media perspective, then usually it's not a big deal from a not world news, but a national news perspective. You get your local news, and local news doesn't care about Twitter or any of that.
Right. I don't even watch that.
Right. But your national news does. And because your national news follows a lot of those things, they get a lot of their stories, and and once it hits 60 minutes, like if it's on 60 minutes, it's hitting a different demographic than, say, Twitter. Like I have a Twitter account, but I don't use it for anything but to follow comic book artists. I don't get my news from
and that's what gets me too, because even with the Trump interview with Leslie Stahl, and he was talking about the Hunter Biden bullshit and all the cheating, she's like, that's not true. Well, I haven't yet to see an apology.
All right. So let's discuss the millennial thing of apologies. Apologies don't mean dick. All right? Great. Somebody went and got on and said, oh, I'm sorry, I said this about this group and I shouldn't have said it. I'm like, no. The apology means zero. People go, well, you should apologize. And then what?
Well, not so much apologize, but retract. They can retract their stories.
Retracting is different, which means you're acknowledging when you do a retraction, you acknowledge that you had said something wrong. Apologizing means I shouldn't have said it.
Yeah, I said the wrong word. They should be issuing retractions and not on the page 9 of the paper.
Correct. If I apologize for that, it means I hurt your feelings. Doesn't mean I was wrong. It just means I hurt your feelings. And that's different than a retraction. Retraction means it's wrong. The data's wrong, or the.
But here's the thing: is how can the national news hurt someone's feelings?
It's not a matter of.
Because, I mean, you gotta.
An apology is about somebody's feelings. A retraction is about factual information.
Right.
Okay. Like your statement the other day. And when I say the other day, probably about a month ago, maybe even longer, when Yee said what he said.
I just call him Kanye.
Well, I think it's funny. Yee.
Yeah.
So when you said being Jewish is a religion, not a race.
Right.
That's true, because I have family members that are now Jewish. They're not born in Israel. They're not from Israel.
Right.
They don't have ties to Israel, but they follow that faith. So when they go, oh, well, you don't like Jewish people, or you don't like Jews, or whatever, it's like, it's not racism. Okay? It's not racist. It's definitely bad, anti-Semitic, but
anti-Semitic is not just about Jews.
Right. It's about a lot of
that. It's that whole
Yeah,
area.
right. So
And people don't realize that when you say anti-Semitic, people automatically just assume it's Jewish.
Jewish,
No,
right?
it's the Arab countries.
Right, it's all of that. So when people go, well, you're racist because you don't like Jews, it's like, no, that's a religious thing. It's not a race of people. There are, if you're Israeli, if I say I don't like Israelis, okay, well now I've said something that is racist.
But here's the thing is all the words that they've called people that are conservative,
The most
they don't even faze me anymore.
the most persecuted religion on the planet is Christianity.
Yes, and it's getting worse.
And pick its form, whatever. But that's because we've allowed it to happen. See, and that's the other thing. A lot of people are going to find out is that when we get tired of it, and when I say we, I mean the people that are in the middle. And there are three types of people in the world, or in the United States. There's the poor, and they make up about 10%, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And they're really good at telling you to give more, to tell people to give more, to help more, because they have nothing to contribute, or they have very little to contribute. Then you have the ultra wealthy or the wealthy. And these are people who are like your Hollywood types and everything, and they're really good at telling you to give more, to do more. Why? Because taking $100,000 from them is nothing.
Right.
Right? That's like having a handful of quarters and somebody taking a few out. You still have a handful of quarters. So for them, it's easy to say, yeah, we should give more, because they have tax shelter annuities and they have ways of hiding their money and all of that.
And then you have
there's
us in the middle.
Us in the middle, they're saying, hey, I'm willing to do my fair share. But
I'm not.
More. Don't ask me for more. Like if I go to the grocery store and I buy food and I pay tax on the food, that's just part of paying your fair share, because it's the same tax for everybody. If I go buy bread and you go buy bread, we pay the same amount. That's the only fair thing there is.
Right.
Okay. Nobody's going, well, it looks like you have a 6-figure income, so you're going to pay a little bit more for bread today. And then the person behind you doesn't, and they're like, oh, well, they're going to pay less.
They're not going to pay less. They're going to use their EBT card. But here's the thing. I know what you're saying. So until we in the middle have had enough, like I said with the whole January 6th thing, if we wanted to take our capital, we would have taken it. We wouldn't have been in there doing selfies.
It's all propaganda to make it look like it was worse than it was. No different than the propaganda they used when they were burning all the cities during the George Floyd.
Well, and in the research I have done, the United States is the world's largest maker of propaganda.
Yeah. Well,
like who made Putin bad? Who made Cuba bad?
Well, Cuba did it themselves back in the Cuban Missile Crisis, but that's a different that again, nobody wants to talk about history, so let's just keep it on the current things, because nobody wants to talk about the Bay of Pigs or the Cuban Missile Crisis or the reason why Kennedy was killed.
But you know what though, and I listen to a lot of Victor Davis Hanson.
Who's that?
He is a historian. He's a professor.
Oh,
and actually,
I listen to Thomas Sowell.
He's very good too. But Victor Davis Hanson, because he is a history teacher and a historian, and he talks about things that are happening that happened in the past that's basically repeating itself.
Right. That's the whole, if you don't know your history, it's bound to repeat itself.
And kids don't understand. Like in school, I didn't care about history. You know what I remember about Texas history? I remember one thing.
What?
That Texas is the only state in the union that can successfully secede from the United States.
Yeah,
it could just be like, I'm done.
Well, there's a I think he's a congressman who's pushing that in Texas, even though he represents Texas as a congressman. I think from one of the districts around Austin, I think is where he's from. I've heard him a few times on Tim Pool's podcast. He's pretty good.
But it's the only state that can say we're done. We're signing up. They don't need to vote. They they
Well,
don't.
no. They have to vote.
Well, they have to vote to leave the union, but they don't need permission.
Right. Well, the state legislators can decide to vote to put it to a vote to the citizens of Texas. And if the citizens of Texas vote, yeah, let's get out of here, they can. And, and then probably Oklahoma would follow. And so would maybe Arkansas. I don't know. I can't remember. Yeah, probably them. But, the thing is that if Texas did that, then they could invade Mexico. And then they'd have a smaller border to protect because it would go all the way down to that nice little narrow that's only about 100 miles wide. And they could easily protect their borders by taking Mexico. I don't know why the United States hasn't done that.
Well, they can also stop all the liberals from moving to their state.
Well, no. The liberals moving to their state is quite interesting. It's Texas, it's
Florida,
it's Texas, Florida, Tennessee. They're going to Nashville specifically, and then parts of Colorado. So those four, and it's interesting that that's happening because I know I've seen some pictures of places in Texas where they have billboards that say, "You're welcome to live here. Just remember where you came from."
Oh, that's good.
And it's like, just remember you left garbage.
Do you remember growing up on the bumper? They used to have the bumper stickers that said "Don't mess with Texas."
Mm-hmm.
They were big. Don't mess with Texas. I love Texas.
Well, Texas is a lot of people who don't like Texans. They don't like them because they're so proud of where they're from.
Right.
Where they
and heaven forbid that you become patriotic.
I think I'm all for patriotism and all of that. I think that they throw around the word patriot way too much now. Again,
well,
it's
like Biden. What did Biden call people?
You're not
Ultra MAGA Republicans. Now, let's get something straight. I'm just a MAGA Republican. I'm just a MAGA American. That's all I am. I don't even want to be lumped as a Republican because I just believe in putting our country first. So if that makes me an extremist, then I'm an extremist. Because first of all, we need to take care of our country first.
Well, yeah, and I think it was Chris Rock who said, here in America, we step over our own homeless to go take care of somebody else's.
Yeah.
And that is such a powerful statement that nobody hears.
Well, and I'm still trying to figure out why China is running videos in their country to send money to feed our poor.
It's propaganda. They're not. They're just buying real estate, as far as I know. I don't know if they're helping our poor. I don't think they are. I can't.
Well, if it's a non-for-profit, we know what they use those non-for-profits for.
Right. Creating, Apple products is what they're really known for. And
but here's something that people don't realize, because it made me think of it with non-for-profits. Do you know what a campaign does when they lose an election with the money they've raised?
They redistribute it to other areas of the not-for-profit to pay people.
They form their own non-for-profits.
Right.
And the money that you donate to a candidate, they lose. All that money that they didn't use then becomes their own non-for-profit to use whatever they want.
Right.
Which is bullshit.
Well, here's what.
Not that I want the Republicans to have control of it.
Well, here's the question. I get it. I get the sentiment in what you're saying. I understand the tone in which you're saying it. I will ask you this: what do you expect to happen with the money? Do you expect them to just give it back?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm good with that. And if that's
Because I don't think that they should take money that middle class America has used to help fund to help them get elected, and then and it's to help them get elected, not for them to form their own non for profit to do whatever they
right,
feel
well,
needs to be done, like
well,
Paul Ryan did.
Paul Ryan, yeah. Here's a question then, or here's what, because I'm not that familiar with the whole process, but if I'm giving money to a candidate, I'm giving that money to them, and if they don't get elected, I I don't expect to get it back because I essentially am giving it to them to help pay so that they can focus on trying to get elected. But if if it's coming out of the coffer that that the United States government gives you, like
Mm-hmm.
there's a coffer that if you get the candidacy to run, like you become that party's candidate to run,
Mm-hmm.
the U.S. government gives you a check for your campaign. It's like, I don't know, like starter money. Dad would know more about this, but starter money, and I can't remember how much. It's like $100,000. It might be $1 million. I don't know, but they give that to you to start your campaign so that you can solicit for more money and more money. And if you don't solicit, it's you can at least run a campaign either locally, probably not a national one, but you could definitely run a local one. It's probably smaller for local, like it's more like $20,000 or $50,000, where you could buy a TV spot or you could have flyers printed and posters and all that. If you get your party's candidates to be their candidate, I would say that with the money that you get from your campaign donors, if you lose, you need to repay whatever they gave you as starter money. That should go back. So then that way it's not hitting the taxpayers to refill that every time. It's being refilled by the loser. Well, think about
But you
that.
know what? But here's the other problem I
And,
have with it
and
is,
one less thing for us to put money into for somebody to go run and lose.
but why is it that so we've got several on both sides, Democrat and Republicans, they decide to primary someone that's in their party out because they're not voting the way the party wants them. They're voting based on what their constituents want. And that's the other problem I have with both parties.
Oh God, they're the worst. Are you when it comes to like representing where they're from? There's only a few that like truly do it.
I
Uh,
have to say, even though I cannot stand her, but AOC's one.
I don't know. Did you see the videos of her being grilled by her constituents?
Oh, on the Ukraine money and stuff? And
Well,
then,
not only on the money for Ukraine, but getting us into a war
yeah,
and wanting,
yes.
yeah, you know, so yes and no. I'm not an AOC. I think she's in
She's
it
an
for
idiot.
she's in it for the money, and
Yeah.
she's going to she's going to be in it for a while. But but you can take any of the people in Washington right now, wherever they're from, they're the same. I don't care what letter you put at the end of their name.
Yeah, it's the uniparty.
They have their own personal needs,
With
and
the exception of the Freedom Caucus.
if there is a group that is taking money from donors to do what they're doing, sorry.
Yes, yes, Teflon. Yes, you're right.
What do you mean
Teflon.
Teflon?
Here, I'll put it on the screen.
Oh, sorry. Right, exactly. So, I'm not a big. I've gotten to where like, because I'm in a flyover blue state as well. So we're pretty much being what
It's not,
it's not like it's not bad, but it's not good either. But when we hear, and I'm going to change topics on you because I wanted to talk about this tonight, the electoral college. A lot of people
Hmm.
don't understand why it's there. It's for flyover states.
Yeah,
Because
because we wouldn't count.
if they went on the popular vote, New York, Pennsylvania,
California.
California, Texas, Florida, Wisconsin, Michigan. I think those are other yeah, wherever Detroit, yeah, Detroit, Michigan. You'd only need to campaign in 7 states to get the popular vote. And you'd only have to get 70% of those votes to actually win the popular vote in the United States because of all the other rural states. My state only has 2 million people in it. 2
Oh, I
million.
don't even know how many's in mine.
So 2
I know
million.
I was shocked to see my county turn blue. I'm like, when did my county turn blue? What the shit? I got to
Well,
work on that.
but you think about it, 2 million people, which means what we have I think it's 3 or 4 electoral college votes, maybe 2. It might only be 2, uh, and that's nothing. That's really nothing, but it adds up with all the other small states like ours. If you go red,
It's
then
shocking to me, even
that
in
all
the
adds up. But I truly believe that because of that, it's harder for them to implement other things because the electoral college keeps them from doing it because they could,
somewhat in check because
you
they
know,
have workarounds. They have workarounds at this point.
right,
And
right. So if because of the electoral college, your vote does count to a point, and and anybody who says, well, we want to get rid of the electoral college because they don't really represent 2 electoral votes. So,
maybe in their state, but
well,
we
and
have to have it because when you look at the last
right,
last election, the map, it's all red.
right.
And I'm like, how did we not have control?
Every state except for like New York and even California, if you look at
Yeah,
the
there was some,
uh,
yeah.
eastern side of California, it's all red along their borders, their eastern borders. It's
And
all
they're farming, that's farming
farming,
area too, because
and
Devin
even
Nunes was from there.
and even in the state I'm in, red all south, blue to the north, and but because it's more rural, it's where the concentrations are. Like New York City, 5 million people. That's 2.5 of my states.
You know what I think is
And,
hilarious?
and that's in a very small, condensed area. This state is huge.
Well, I think it's
You
funny
know,
now that I'm watching videos on YouTube of real estate agents going in to show apartments for rent when in New York City because people are leaving.
well, yeah, yeah. There's no reason to be in New York City. Whenever I was in New York,
I went
about,
once.
about 8. I've been once, and it was when the Peter Jackson King Kong came out. So that's
Mom
when.
and I went to the Grammys.
Oh, I went for a Comic Con. I went for nerd reasons.
They're-
But the it was in February, and even in the cold, it still smelled like a urinal the whole time I was there.
it's filthy.
But it was cool to see. It was great to go to a lot of the things that I've only seen on TV. But when I left and I got back home, I was like, it was nice to visit. I don't think I could live there.
That's why we were there. I think less than 24 hours, and our taxi driver didn't have brakes, and the only good band at the Grammys, I shit you not, was Metallica. This was probably in '92 that we went,
Okay.
and Metallica was the only good band. And we hung out with some Mexican singers. I don't know who they were.
It's it's just interesting how the landscape has changed since when we were,
It has.
and I joke around with some of my friends who are big soccer fans because it's the whole World Cup thing and everything, and I go, you do know that soccer is the reason why we have the participation trophies.
That is exactly why we have them.
And they just look at me like, what are you talking about? I go, well, I played football and I played baseball, and there was no participation trophies. There was just, you either won or you lost. And,
Even in my daughters,
my parents sent their kids to go play because they knew they would get some sort of accolade for just participating.
You know what? When Savannah was doing gymnastics, I could tell you, she had one meet that she did not get a medal. One meet. And it never happened again because she hated it. So there were no participation trophies in that sport either.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what bothered Hunter whenever because he started out playing baseball, and then he went to soccer because his friends played soccer. So that's how kids are. They follow whatever their friends are doing, and he was just a natural athlete. And when his friends who didn't score goals or anything and half-assed it out there got a trophy like he got, like, why did they get what I got? I was the one scoring the goals. I was the one doing all the work. And I said, Hunter, that's just how it is. He goes, I don't know if I like that. I go, well, here's this sport. It's called football.
You know, I was sitting here thinking the other day, because we were talking about school. And, you know, I was never allowed to have parent-teacher conferences with the teachers.
Well, maybe if you weren't so mean.
I wasn't mean.
I'm just saying. Well, no, you're okay. What? You're less pleasant.
No, I mean, if my kid did the crime, they're going to do the time, and that's how I rolled. And it carried with me. I mean, the principal retired when my last kid left the elementary school. And it just followed on. But if I had a child in the school district now, if they thought I was bad then.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. We sent Hunter to private school for a reason here, but that's just, again, back to the 76% graduation rate. So,
well, I'm going to have grandkids, and you're going to have grandkids one day too, and I'm not going to change.
I don't think that we have a reason to change.
But I mean, just the way that they're teaching them. I mean, some of the stuff that's coming out, like with Project Veritas and these, I'm like.
Well, here's something. I was at the mall today doing some Christmas shopping because that's what I do. There's certain things that I don't like to buy online.
Right.
Right. So I'm at the mall and there's a lot of anime characters running around. And what I mean by that is the blue hair or the green hair or the bright pink hair. If you watch the Japanese anime shows, all the characters have that kind of hair, and I think that's where a lot of this is coming from. And some of the Japanese anime is really, really beautiful and great stories. But when you start wanting to be those characters,
like you want to be a furry cat?
You want to be a furry cat, right? But there was this one.
Someone wants to be a furry cat. That tells me the parents didn't whip their ass enough.
Right. So there was this one little boy with his dad, and the little boy had like taken his hair and put ponytails in the side and one in the back, and the ponytails were pink here, and he had blonde hair. So it was,
a boy did this?
Yeah, and it was green in the back. But they weren't that long. They just kind of stuck out like little horns type thing like that. And I'm trying to think which anime character is that, because I try to keep up with knowing who they're trying to be, because you never know if you have to talk to them. That way you know how to communicate. But the dad was...
I just look at them as horns that I could grab them by the head.
Well, when I saw that, and the dad seemed pretty, they were having a conversation. It wasn't like the dad was stupid. He seemed to have a good conversation, a good relationship with his son. And I'm thinking, when he decides that he no longer wants to have those types of conversations with you, remember today and how you let him go out in the public. Because now he has this entitlement. Now his opinion's going to matter, and you're going to go, where did I go wrong? Well, it started with letting him go out
there. Yeah.
like that because you want them to express themselves. It's like there's certain levels of self-expression that you shouldn't.
You remember when you would go to leave the house and you'd get that look from mom or dad, like you're wearing that out of the house? You're not leaving the house like that.
Well, we grew up in the '80s, so we were in the age of neon and
Big hair.
the shoulder pads and the suit coats and the Don Johnson Miami Vice.
That's true. I've got some pictures of that. So before we wrap this on our first live stream, which thank you so much. There's two things I want to hit on real quick.
Okay.
One is
well, real quick before you do that, I would like to apologize to the audience that we were so all erratic and all over the place. First one, and this is how we talk to each other. We're just all over the place when we talk. So we'll eventually have organization and structure, but right now you get erratic, convoluted conversations.
Sometimes we've got to reel ourselves in.
Right.
I mean, they see my videos where I'm like, hang on, let me bring myself back.
But go ahead.
One is doxing. And one thing that I find amusing is that people don't understand the way we grew up. In order to find someone, you looked in the white pages. Mm-hmm. The white pages had your last name, your first name, your address, and your zip code. Mm-hmm. Which now is readily, you can get it online. So
yeah, faster now.
It's really not doxing. Now, if you're doxing to intend harm, I have a problem with that. So people need to realize it's not doxing. We had the white pages for many, many years to find people.
Well, I think, like you said, it's about intent. And if you go and you publish somebody's address for everybody that is either a part of your network or whatever to see, that's different. Like if you have 1,000 people in your network and you say, oh, so-and-so lives here, 1,000 of your people know that now. And you don't know which one of them have a screw loose, right?
But it's also one of those that I can find people's information like that.
But let me finish. But if all 1,000 of them go to the white pages and try to find them, that's different.
Right.
Right? So it's about the announcement, and that when you do something like that, it almost has a negative tone to it. Like you need to do something to this person because now I gave you their address. Now you know where they are. And if you don't like them, you don't have to you don't have to go look it up. Because most people who are crazy, not crazy, but let's just say very passionate about hurting others, will do the work anyway. But somebody who's kind of on the fence about it, and then all of a sudden you give them easy access to it, well, now you've almost like said, go do it. I've now given you what you need to go do it. You just got to go do it now. So
don't come to my house because I'm a big believer in the Second Amendment. And then one other thing that because I'm sure you have not watched the Meghan and Harry thing. And I watched it just so I could look at what a liar she is. But in my opinion, as they keep talking about, because Meghan's like, I don't have a dad anymore. I don't have any family. I just have my mom. She has a family. Mm-hmm. But the family that she no longer says she has does not fit her narrative because they are white.
In your opinion?
In my opinion, yes. And people are missing that. Because if she has to show that she's biracial, then that defeats the whole, oh, the palace is racist because I'm Black. No, you're biracial. And really, I mean, I'm not going around going, I'm a Scottish American.
I am.
I do have my gold bug.
But that goes back to the Colin Kaepernick story as well. He was adopted by two
white people,
by a white family who's quite educated, and and he turned into whatever he turned into, which is unfortunate.
He's an idiot.
Well,
I got rid of everything Nike in my house.
Well, just know that he's making more money now than he did in the NFL. So
I almost had to get rid of Adidas because of Ye. But I really love my son's old Adidas sweatpants. I wear them all the time.
That's really the thing that should alarm people. and it's not so much that he got cut off by a company that he was doing business with. That happens all the time. Happens all the time. That they cut him off from getting to certain accounts where he has funds. That's the terrifying part. When they can cut you off from your money.
Well, you know, that guy, the pastorate guy that was trying to control him is part of like the MK Ultra type people.
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
But it's one of those that I could see. Here's the thing. I'm annoyed with what he did to Tim Pool, but and he could say whatever he wants to say because we have free speech. We can say whatever we want.
Right.
However, he's not dumb. So before he came out with this rant that he's doing, he wanted out of the Gap deal. So he pulled some stuff. He got out of the Gap. He wanted out of the Adidas deal. Got out of the Adidas deal. The one I don't know what he's fucking with is Balenciaga.
That little hot potato right now. Have you noticed it's not being talked about? It's not. And if this was a conservative based organization, oh man, it'd be like January 6th. It would be consistent. It would be constant. It would be in your face the whole time. It'd be all the time. There's
he went on Alex Jones with the GIMP mask on from Balenciaga. I'm like, why are you even promoting them? Which next week we'll go over what they have released about the FBI, where they've taken FBI agents off CP cases to monitor Twitter.
Mm-hmm. Well, you should also do some research on the supposed kidnapping plan
of Whitmer. That the guys were set up,
and how many actual agents were part of that, and how many people. Like it was like what, three guys that they arrested, and the rest of them were all agents, and there's like 100 people involved or something. I don't know.
And it all started in a chat group on Facebook, which I am not on Facebook for a reason. I went ahead and self-banned myself.
I don't do InstaFace, and I don't do. That's a Bill Belichick quote from a few years ago when they asked him about social media, and he goes, "I don't do InstaFace." Like
I don't do Instagram either. I do a little bit of Twitter. I'm YouTube.
Yeah, I don't. I watch YouTube. This is my second interview for a YouTube channel, or being part of a YouTube channel. I did that.
Yeah, you're part of it.
About doing comic books, and
because remember, you want to have a popularity contest with me.
Just remember that
I'm prettier, but next time you have to wear your Ray-Ban so people can see your Tom Cruise look.
Okay, well.
And I'm gonna wear my Iron Man.
Tony Stark. Iron Man's the suit. Tony Stark's that.
I don't know. I wouldn't kick him out of my bed.
Okay.
Or his money.
Now that this has totally hit rock bottom, I think.
Well, thank you everyone for chatting. There's some chats in here. I got to remember to start.
Well, let's look at what they said and read them up.
Let's see.
And then we'll call it a day.
Well, Melissa Johnson, thank you, Melissa Johnson is talking, and she's talking with our mother. Oh, Toe Jam. So I think she's covered. But thank you, Melissa. Hi, Becca. Becca's on here watching. Toe Jam. 97. I showed that one. 97% of people.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if I've got super chats. If it shows me if I could do them, I can't tell.
Nah, we don't need super chats right now. We're still trying to figure this out.
I know, but I don't know if I don't know how that works. So again, me getting this far, I'm impressed.
Well, we finished.
Okay, so same time. Wait, is next week Christmas?
Christmas Eve.
So should we do one Friday?
We can.
Okay.
If you want.
Yeah, do one Friday.
All right, we'll do one on Friday.
We'll have everybody will have something more spelled out, and I'll post it what we're gonna go over.
Well, I think they have an idea that we're not exactly Hollywood types, but we're not exactly hillbilly.
No, I'm not.
Well, you're kind of hillbilly, but I'm not.
I'm a cat type.
All right.
With my Iron Man, and you can't see this. You can't see it if I turn it on. It's so bright, but it's so cool. Can you see it?
What?
Oh, you can't see it.
No.
You can't see it. So if I turn it off, maybe I'll be able to read it.
Something's. Okay. Okay.
This is from my friend Sean.
All right.
And I had to put my other favorite person, Deadpool, up there.
Cool. Very good.
So, in any case, well, you have a good night. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate you.
I will see you next week, and we'll do this again.
See you on Friday.
All right.
Bye, everybody. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.